Okay, so in this video I'm going to explain to you how to do ruffles. So this is my strip of fabric. This is 18 inches long and 2 inches wide. So first off, what I'm going to do is take my ends and I'm going to fold them in just a teeny tiny bit so that the edge is clean, and I'm going to iron that down. I'm going to do the same with the other end just so that I can keep these things clean, because I have a lot of fraying going on with this little piece. Alright, so now that part's all done. Now I need to do that same thing to the bottom. So I'll show you what my piece looks like now. Long, and I've got the little ends put in just like that. I'm going to scoot this stuff over so I have a little bit more space. The easiest way to do this would be to pin it down first, but I'm not going to bother doing this to the top part because I am just going to go and stitch that anyways. But I want this bottom half down here to look nice and clean, so I'm going to go and carefully iron this out so that it will stay. I'm going to have to do this all the way across, and it might be a little bit easier if I just turn it this direction. Okay, so I've got all these pieces and I've got my needle threaded. Now, here is the part that I'm going to start with. Over here in this corner, I'm going to stick together the top where I've got this little piece hemmed on the side. I'm going to pull this so that there's still a little bit of the tail there, and I'm going to go back and forth between this little spot right here. Now when you thread this needle for this particular piece, you want to make sure it's at least as long as the piece of fabric. You're going to be skipping big stitches, so it'll be kind of easy to do. But now I'm going to give that a light tug just to make sure it doesn't come loose. Okay, we're great. Now I'm going to flip it over here so I can see the fabric that I'm working with a little bit better. I'm going to move my iron out of the way. Now I'm going to just go right across the top, making big wide stitches like this, and then when I pull it, it's going to create that little ruffle. And I like to do this all the way across so that my needle doesn't get caught on anything. So as I go, see, it's getting caught on the corner right there. As I go, I'm going to pull it each and every single time, or after doing a couple stitches. And at the end, I'll kind of loosen them up. And since you're doing big wide stitches, it's not going to be super tight or anything. You'll have to tie it off at the end, and it's best to do that after you've made sure that you have made up your mind exactly where you want all your little ruffles to be, how big and whatever else. I'll show you exactly what I mean once we get to that end. So I want to... Okay, so I went all the way through and finished doing this. So I've pulled it tight all the way through, but the reason I did that is so that my thread wouldn't keep getting caught on it, but since I haven't finished off the end, I can adjust it. See? Pull it. And there's still plenty of thread here, so there's more string to work with, and I can just keep adjusting it all I want. Just keep pushing it down the thread and spread it out. And I'll just keep doing this until it matches up with the length of this piece, which is the middle part. And I'm going to just keep working on it, and eventually I'll be able to stitch those pieces together. And once I'm sure I'm 100% happy with it, I can finish off the end. But I need to prepare this piece, and how I'm going to do that is hem these sides. I'm going to take it and put it in about this much, and I'm going to do that on both sides. So that actually gives it room for me to put on any snaps or clasps or whatever I choose to use to hold my piece together. I'm not going to bother hemming the bottom or the top, just the sides, because I'm attaching pieces to those, so it doesn't matter. And I'm going to unplug that and set that back over there. So I'm adjusting this just a little bit. Now that I'm happy with it, I'm going to finish off the end real quick, so that I know that I don't really need any more thread. This still can be adjusted the way it is now. There's just no extra thread to push onto it, so. And this should be enough to hold the end, so I don't have to tie a knot. It's a little hard for me to do some knot tying because I can't see what I'm doing very well. Alright, so that's what you can do, is just go ahead and attach that bottom piece if that's what you want to do. How you do that is you take it like this, so the pattern sides are facing each other, and then you stitch it along that bottom piece so that when you turn it right side out, it'll be the correct way. Yeah, so take it like this, put it on there upside down so that they're facing each other, then just stitch it. When you fold it down, it'll be perfect. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Alright, so I'll show you the product now. This is it halfway done. I've gotten all of the ruffles into place, and I'm going to keep doing this all along the bottom, but see, this is what happens when you put them together with them facing each other and have the ruffle thing upside down. Then when you turn it out, this is what it looks like. So I'm going to finish this off real quick, and then okay, so here's the completed ruffle bottom, and I've gone and hemmed these little pieces all the way up until where the crease is, where I've made the line here at the bottom. So you can see that crease, and I've done that on both sides. I don't know if I'm going to be adding lace to this or not, so I'll probably be using pink thread on the rest of the bottom if I decide not to use the lace, so that it doesn't look weird having really bold white thread down at the bottom. You could do that if you want to, but I prefer to use thread that's closer to matching the actual color of the fabric. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm trimming some loose threads from fraying, so we don't have to worry about that. But yeah, that's pretty much all done down here. Pretty much all you have to do is just decide on whether you want to just hem the bottom with the color of thread you want, or to add lace or bows or whatever it is you decide you want to embellish that with. So the next part I'm going to go on to is the top part. Very simple. What you're going to do is you're going to take your middle piece and lay it out flat, and make sure that those creases that you made are folded in, because you're going to lay your piece up at the top and you're going to fold this in half. So you've got this, it's about 1 inch, and you're going to go ahead and make those folds and make sure that they are exactly the same as your middle section, so that it all matches up. And then you're going to go ahead and sew those pieces on to the top part. So I'm going to go ahead and do that really quick and attach it, and I'll kind of show you what it looks like. So I've taken this and folded it in half, and I've made the creases on the either sides, and I've kind of folded this bottom up a little bit just because it didn't quite match up equally. So I'm going to do that, and of course we're going to attach it to the top the same way that we did the ruffles to the bottom. We are just going to take it and lay it so that this side of the fabric, not this underside, but this side, is matched up with it, and we'll start stitching it on. Alright, so at this point it's pretty much all done for getting the main pieces together, and at this point you decide on what kind of embellishments you want to add on to it. If you want to put some lace on it anywhere, some bows, ribbons, whatever. So that part's all up to you. As for me, I'm going to be adding some lace right along here, and probably a bow. But I don't know if I want to do any lace at the bottom. I'm going to wait to see how it looks to make sure I don't feel like I'm overdoing it or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and add on my embellishments, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've gone ahead and added my lace on. So now I'm going to go Mama? And... Yes, Aaron.
Mama, there goes Sam.
That's my son. He woke up from his nap. And I'm going to fold it inside out like this and just start hemming it and stop about right there. Okay, so I've got my dress all put together. It's sewn up in the back. And I've turned it right side out. I haven't put any of the clasps on it yet because... Hi, Aaron. I'm going to put it on my doll, and I'm going to figure out exactly where I want to put my clasps or snaps or whatever it is that we're using, and I'm going to mark the spot with this pen. I suggest that you be very careful with the pen, because you don't want to accidentally mark your doll. If it's a resin doll, it'll probably come off fairly easy because it does dissolve with water.
Yeah.
But you don't want to risk staining your doll. Vinyl dolls are more susceptible to staining, so...
Yeah.
I'll keep the legs out straight if I can.
Oh.
Sorry, he's still extremely kicky.
Diaper off.
And this little one next to me needs a diaper change, so I'm going to do this real quick, and then I'm going to go take care of his diaper.
That's good.
Alright, so now we've got it on him.
Mama,
It's a nice long dress.
White.
This is what it looks like when you make it a little bit longer. And of
Summer.
course, you can always just take off 2 inches if you want it to be shorter, like the other one.
White summer. White
And
summer.
so I'm going to...
White summer. White summer.
Shh, baby.
White summer.
I don't know what song you're talking about, Aaron. I really don't.
White summer.
Alright, so now I'm going to carefully mark that spot, which is just a very light dot.
Yeah. I know.
Alright, I think I've got all of them the way I want it. I might need one more little
Mama.
dot.
Mama.
Oh, that's perfect, actually. I like it. So now I have my spot marked from wherever it is. I just pull it over, hold my thumb there, and slip the fabric out from underneath of it, and then put the dot.
No.
And that lets me know exactly where it is that I want to put it.
No.
And
No.
the inside button will be right here on this little fold,
No.
and it will go right over to the button
Oh.
that I'll be putting right on top of the blue dot. For now, I'm gonna call it good. Okay, I took care of Mr. Dirty Butt, and I'm back. I had to go get my laundry too, so it took me a little bit, but I'm here. Ta-da! Well, you see, I've made the little blue mark, which you probably can't see very well on this poopy camera. But now I'm going to kind of decide where I want my bow, because it's a lot easier to make up my mind when the doll already has the dress on. So I'm going to kind of just look to see where I want it. Hold it up there, think about it a bit. Maybe I'll put it near the bottom or the top or whatever. I think I know where I want it. Then I'll go and mark it just a little bit, very lightly, so that now when I go to take it off, I can go ahead and, yeah, he's floppy, he still needs his elastic. Go ahead and put the buttons on and the bow. Alright, so now I've got this part sewed on and I'm pretty pleased with it. And I'll just go over and snip the two together so that it looks nice and even. And there we go. There's the back. It's all stuck together. And at this point, we're going to add our little bow on, and it's very easy. Go ahead and pick it up. This is the back side right here. You're gonna just kind of stick your needle through the back and loop it around a couple times just so that you know it's your thread's secured. You don't have to worry about it slipping free. And then once that's done, you're going to put your needle to where the blue mark is and slip it through to the other side of the fabric, and then you're just kind of gonna go like this and slip your needle through both the bow and the fabric that you're attaching it to. You're going to do that back and forth a couple times in that spot, but be careful not to accidentally ruffle your fabric too much by doing those long stitches. So there's the bow. I want to wiggle it a little bit to see if it's too loose. If it is, then stitch where it needs to be to make it stay. And mine feels a little loose at the bottom, so that's what I'm going to do, is make some stitches down here near the bottom of the bow. Alright, straighten out the fabric a little bit, and there we go. I'm pretty happy with it, so I'm going to snip it right there, that little thread. And make sure there's no little excess pieces hanging out. So I found a little loose piece of thread that I'm going to snip off. Alright, now this is pretty much it. It's all done. It doesn't look so extravagant when it's not on the doll, but when it is, it looks a whole lot better. Just a little piece of loose thread. And here's where you can kind of decide what you want to do with the bottom. For me, I kind of left it alone, and I didn't do the hemming or adding any lace to it at the moment because I hadn't made up my mind as to whether I wanted more lace or not, but I think I do. So I'm going to go ahead and lace the bottom of it, but you don't have to if you don't want to. If you like it just the way it is, you can always leave it that way, but I'll go ahead and attach the lace and come back and show you what it looks like, so you kind of got a view of what it looks like both ways. No. Alright, so it's all done now. He's got his frilliness done at the bottom, and it's all perfect on him. And actually, yeah, I figured out how to do the headband thing, so I made him a little bow headband, and I just made it with some crafting wire. And I hot glued some of the fabric onto the crafting wire and glued the bow on just enough so that it will stay in place long enough for me to sew it. So at this point, if you wanted to, you could add straps onto the top for his shoulders so that it's not a strapless dress. I think I'm going to leave it as a strapless. I don't know, I might add straps on later. I'll just probably wait for a while and see how I feel about it, because sometimes there are things that I end up changing about dresses later on after I make them. Like the one that I started doing this tutorial on, I decided to remove the bow because it was in the way of his arm and I didn't like it. But next tutorial will be for the underpants, so this kind of went on longer than I really wanted it to, but it took me literally, oh, god dang it, literally all day to do this dress by hand. If you do it with a sewing machine, it will be way, 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 way faster, but unfortunately, I don't have a sewing machine, so I hope this tutorial was helpful, and if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them down below.